Welcome to Blind Level Tech. I'm Jonathan Price.
I'm Evan Starnes.
And together, we're bringing you news, tech, and information about blind technologies.
Being blind doesn't mean you have to stop living.
We're going to show you just how possible it is to live the life you want.
Well, it kind of was. I hit record right as you were walking in, so we'll see what happens.
I know, it's like, you're like, and I was like, I don't know, how's it going? I don't know. My voice got all big and stuff.
Very, like, announcer-like, or Transformers, like,
rated R, you know. It's my favorite thing.
Also, just funny thing, in our voiceover boot camp, I had played the guy who does the voiceover for Megatron.
Nice.
And because I had them read the script for Megatron, and just to see if they could like do it and turn it into something that was their own. And so a few of them were like, there was only one guy in there. And so a couple of the ladies like turned it into like making it more motherly, and it actually worked. It was a little odd, but I mean, it worked. It worked for, I guess, something. I don't know. It was very interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan Price here with my co-host Evan Starnes. Evan, what is up, man? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I actually, I'm going to become known for this, and I know it. I don't care. Literally slammed a cup of coffee before coming here, so I'm kind of talking fast and a little bit wired right now, which I usually am not.
Good.
But I'm doing really good. I'm really happy the Nuggets won.
Dude, yeah, I'm so excited. They're on their way to the conference or the NBA finals, so I'm like, let's do this, man. I guess the Celtics and the Heat were last night. So if you're listening to this podcast, we don't really know the outcome because we're recording this the day before. So don't get mad at us because we can't spoil it. So
nope, and we don't want to either.
And if you didn't get the Nuggets game last night, spoiler alert, they won. They're going to the NBA finals. So if you're using Blind Level Tech as your sports outlet, then I am so sorry because this is not the sports podcast for you.
No.
Anyway.
In fact, I like to say we cover all things blind, all things tech, but we don't talk about sports we don't talk about sandwiches mainly.
No,
unless we're talking about the sandwich motherboards in the iPhone. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I'll throw in barbecue. I like barbecue.
Pulled pork. Barbecue.
Yeah.
Yum.
Pulled pork, roast beef. Absolutely. My smoked brisket. That's my jam right there. Yeah. Smoked brisket, ribs.
I also want to throw this out there too, by the way. This, everybody, is Jonathan has officially been with us for a year.
I have. Yes.
Today.
1 year. 1 year. As of recording this episode on May 23rd, today is my 1 year anniversary for AINC. And I tell you what, I was talking with Alex this morning. It feels like I've been here all of 2 weeks, but at the same time, it feels like I've been here for 2 years. And
it's interesting.
So it's been fun to accomplish what we have. I'm very grateful to be a part of this team. It still feels very new, very fresh, and I'm excited for what the next year brings. And when is your anniversary, by the way?
My anniversary will be October 7th, and it'll be my 2-year anniversary already.
Nice. That'll be awesome. Nuts. Okay, very cool. Well, we'll have to celebrate then.
Oh, we will.
Speaking of sports, so because I don't have cable, I have Apple TV. I don't have a Slingbox. I don't have the Amazon Fire Stick. But today, we're going to dive into the accessibility features of the streaming devices. Yeah, Apple TV, Slingbox, Fire Stick, and any others that we decide to throw in there. So, Evan, where would you like to start? I know this is kind of a very big topic, so we'll keep it kind of broad and go over some of the interesting pros and cons to kind of like what we did with the iPhone and iOS and the Android or Google platforms. So let's keep it pretty general and not dive into too many of the crazies. So where would you like to start from, my friend?
Well, this is perfect because my family just got rid of cable Friday, so we've been actually switching over to streaming. Yep. Unfortunately, we did not get Apple TVs, but I'd love to start with the Apple TV because it is my favorite streaming box. It is the most accessible out there. It's the most responsive.
Yep.
It's the most customizable when it comes to accessibility. And it is, it is a little bit more on the expensive side, but it does have, the latest model does have a very good quality remote, and it's got very few buttons on it, and it's super easy to turn voiceover on.
Yes.
and you can customize this is an update. You can customize whatever voices you want on it. So if you don't like the default smoker voice, that's what I always called her.
Yeah.
You can get some new ones.
Yep.
And it's cool because my girlfriend actually just got an Apple TV last week and a brand new Samsung TV for her dog to put on. Apple TV has a thing called Dog TV if you have dogs, and it's really cool. So
That's interesting.
but yeah, Apple TV has voiceover, and
So I'm going to run through real quick a couple of the features, and I'm just going to say all the features. I think there's 12 of them, but I'm going to run through specifically just the features, and then we'll pick and choose a couple of the ones that you really like. So the features for specifically Apple TV and accessibility are, we have voiceover, you have zoom, you can do magnifiers, hover text, you hover over the text, display, you can reduce the motion, audio descriptions, which is pretty cool. We'll get to that. I know we will. Switch control, AirPods, tap to navigate, hearing, type to Siri, and then of course, you have Siri like every Apple TV does. So, where would you like to start?
Well, let's start with voiceover because it is the most important if you are totally blind or need to use a screen reader. It is very similar in a way to voiceover on the iPhone. You do have things like, I believe you have the rotor because it's interesting because the remote on the Apple TV, the latest model, has a touchpad, but that touchpad is also a navigation pad.
Yes.
It's a D-pad, up, down, left, right.
Yep.
And remotes before that were just a touchpad, but you can use your swipe up, down, left, right, and you can use the rotor gesture, which is like spinning a knob. But yeah, it's pretty similar to VoiceOver on the iPhone. The sounds are a little different because the Apple TV has kind of its own set of sounds, and some apps might not work like 100% with it. Like I know YouTube TV is a little interesting. Like it works, it's accessible, but some apps have their own like overlay almost, but it still uses voiceover. It's a little weird, and that's common with streaming boxes in general. That's not just specific to the Apple TV,
right? And well, it
has
also
to do with streaming services and the way they work.
And it also supports Braille TV or Braille readers.
Braille,
Braille displays. So,
Braille displays.
Yeah, that's
the cool part. So if you wanted to impress your family by, scrolling through your Braille display in your lap on Apple TV, you could absolutely do that.
Yep.
And of course, you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard. If you don't want to use the on-screen keyboard or any of that, you can. And if you're familiar with VoiceOver Braille keyboard or VoiceOver Bluetooth keyboard commands, like on the QWERTY keyboard, they definitely will roll over to the Apple TV as well.
Well, and I think we have to also mention that it has two different modes. So you have navigation mode, which speaks selected items on a screen as you kind of navigate over them. You use the Siri remote, but then you also have exploration mode, and it holds the currently selected item, so you can browse the screen with the Siri remote. It says this lets you hear items and text elsewhere on the screen before selecting them. So you can kind of move around all over the place. And so that is very, very handy. You can turn on, turn off the voiceover. Anything else about voiceover?
Nope.
Cool.
I think we covered it.
And then I want to get into audio descriptions.
Oh, I was going to say, if you guys have noticed, the accessibility menu on the Apple TV looks very similar to the iPhone. Yes. But yes, there is the audio descriptions feature, which, if enabled, to my knowledge, definitely will apply to Apple TV, of course. I don't know if it will apply to services like Netflix or if you have to if you have to set your language settings to audio description on those apps separately. I've never played with that myself, but that, of course, will turn on the descriptive audio track in the background. So if you're watching something on Apple TV, it will by default have audio description. And so if you wanted to turn that feature off, if you were watching, or if some sightling was watching Apple TV and didn't want it, that's where they would go to turn it off.
So I think we need to make a distinction between Apple TV, the box, and Apple TV, the streaming.
Apple TV has a streaming service.
So you have the Apple TV box, which is just a little box that you get with the remote and the cable and you plug it into your TV. The Apple TV Plus streaming service is a streaming service very similar to like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and any other the streaming services that you can use. It is a subscription based streaming service. So I think it's like $6.99 a month, something around there.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
So pretty cheap. And then so it does use the audio descriptions with Apple TV exclusively, and for sure. And then I think Netflix has their own type of voiceover. So there's a bunch of different stuff that you'll have to play around with when it comes to different streaming services on a streaming box. And so it's a little confusing if you're unfamiliar with streaming services, as you've used cable. Heavens. If you have just used cable your whole life, streaming services would be a little different for you. So just
definitely
keep that in mind. So yeah, the audio descriptions are really cool. I really appreciate Apple doing that. Anything else? I mean, we still have AirPods. AirPods can be kind of nice. I'm going to stop here real quick. If you have AirPods or really any Bluetooth device that will connect to the Apple TV, you can, instead of turning your TV all the way up, and this is for our deafblind users as well, you can actually put in your AirPods. And my mother-in-law just discovered that if you have Bluetooth hearing aids, you can actually pair your hearing aids to your Apple TV and get your sound through your hearing aids, which is amazing. So it works really, really well. So if you have AirPods or any Bluetooth device, pair them to your TV so that you're not blasting everybody out who has hearing. Then we're all in the same boat together. So that would be kind of interesting.
Of course, AirPods are going to be very straightforward. Right. They'll just, if you've connected them to your iPhone, they'll be linked to your Apple TV immediately.
Yep. And there will be a description or a little box that pops up that asks if you want to pair or connect to this device. So you just navigate over to it, click the button, and you will be getting audio through your headphones. So very
pretty cool.
Anything else about the Apple TV in accessibility that you want to hit on before we hit some of the other devices?
No. If you guys want to hear more about Apple accessibility in general, check out our podcast, our two-parter that we have on Apple accessibility, because it really does go through and explain all of these features in greater detail. There is a feature called Tap to Navigate that I haven't seen before. That must be
Tap to Navigate. It's an option to tap buttons on the Siri remote instead of pressing them. So it's in one of the navigation settings. So instead of, sometimes you use that tactile, if you just touch the D-pad with your finger,
the touchpad.
Yeah, you actually have to click it like a hard click so that you know what you're selecting instead of just tapping it. So it makes it a little bit more tactile. So appreciate that on Apple.
And of course you have switch control because, it's Apple and they're good with their accessibility. So you can control your Apple TV with whatever switches that you happen to be using, buttons or joysticks.
Yep. Absolutely. And so, I forgot to mention, we are going off the accessibility features of tvOS 16 and none of the previous versions. So we are doing the current, most latest version of tvOS, not to be confused with iOS or Mac OS. Just wanted to put that out there. So, all right, let's move on to, I don't know, what do you want to do, Fire Stick or Slingbox?
I'm not familiar with the Slingbox, but I'm very familiar with the Fire Stick, and I love the Fire Stick.
All right, well, let's just do the Fire Stick, and we'll just stick with that.
All right. So the Fire Stick is a cute little gadget from Amazon that's been around for a few years, and it's another streaming device, but rather than being a set-top box, which basically sits on your, TV stand, it plugs into the side of your TV it looks like a giant thumb drive. And then you have a cable that plugs into the Fire Stick and then a little voice remote that goes with it. And I should mention, too, this is for those who really aren't aware, just making you aware here, both the Apple TV and Fire Stick do allow you to control your TV's power and volume from the remote and that's nice to have if you just want to have one remote. So the Fire Stick I like it generally. It's pretty easy to get set up. It has the screen reader it has on it is called Voice View, and Voice View is, if you have used Fire tablets or if you've used the Echo Show's accessibility, it's the same screen reader except controlled with the directional buttons on the remote. Now, I like this remote. It's a very, very simple. It has your the power button, your Alexa button. Sorry if I triggered anybody's devices there. My apologies. Your navigation buttons, and then it has annoyingly they've been changing these up, but the typical Fire remote has back, home, and menu, and then previous or rewind, play, pause, fast forward, and then volume and mute buttons. But some remotes have added like a Netflix and an Amazon Prime button. They've added these shortcut keys. I have a friend that calls them billboard buttons because it's like advertising streaming services.
Do you like the remote on the Apple TV or the Fire Stick better? Just curious.
I honestly like the remote on the Fire Stick a little bit more just because of the playback controls. Okay. But I like the design of the Apple TV remote more because it's rechargeable. And the newest one, the cool part is the Siri button is on the side, so it almost feels like you're talking into a little walkie-talkie. It's really cute.
And the other thing that I like about the Apple TV is that if you have a iPhone, then you can also
use it as a remote.
Do the remote. So if you lose your remote, or you're like me and my kids dropped it and broke the little glass screen, because not a lot of people know that the Apple remote is made of glass. And,
of course, being Apple.
So, yeah. And it broke. And so now I haven't had a remote for the better part of 4 years. But it doesn't matter because I have my phone. So I don't have to lose it.
But let's go back to the Fire Stick, because the Fire Stick did add – I do believe they actually added a feature that allows you to find your remote and it'll play a loud sound over a built-in speaker in the latest Alexa remote, which is pretty cool. And, yeah, obviously it has Amazon's lovely little voice assistant, which can do anything that a smart speaker can do, an Alexa smart speaker can do. But it can also the functionality of Alexa, of course, is expanded. You can ask her, to play a certain show. I used to, say like play How It's Made on Hulu, and she would immediately pull it up, and it was I didn't even have to hit play. It would just start playing.
And it usually
so
plays
you can ask
the
her to play
latest
shows
episode.
and movies. Yeah, she does.
Yeah. It's important to note that both of these, you do need a Wi-Fi connection. And with the Amazon Fire Stick, you will need an Amazon account. Note that you really don't have to have Prime, but it would increase you watch more stuff if you do have Prime.
Yeah. Actually, let's kind of do what I do best and kind of go a little off topic for a minute. So the Fire Stick – yeah, so you do need an Amazon account for using Alexa and setting your Fire Stick up. Yes, you don't need Prime. The Apple TV you need to have – if you're not an Apple user – don't worry about it. But if you have an Apple ID, that's all you need. You sign in on your Apple TV with your Apple ID. But what I like personally, the Fire Stick does not have this, but the Apple TV has Ethernet, so you can plug it directly into your router if it's nearby if you don't want to use its built-in Wi-Fi.
Yep, which will give you a better
Amazon
signal.
Fire Stick, yes, it will. Better signal, less if you're worried about visuals, you'll get consistent resolution, especially if you're watching in 4K and you have kind of a slower Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
Both the Fire Stick and Apple TV have Bluetooth, so you can – I do believe on the Fire Stick you can connect Bluetooth headphones to it.
Yep.
And as far as accessibility features, they're pretty similar to Apple TVs. Now, as far as turning the Voice View screen reader on, you have to hold two different buttons. I believe it's the back and menu buttons down for 3 seconds, and then you'll hear this cool to turn on the screen reader, and you'll hear this cool little chime, and then it'll say Voice View ready. And the first time you turn on Voice View, you'll get brought into this Voice View tutorial that will show you how to essentially use it, how to navigate around the screen, and it'll even show you its little navigation mode, which can be accessed by holding down the menu button. And what's cool about the navigation mode is that you can basically, let's say you go to a title or you're looking at a cast for a movie and you want to figure out how to spell somebody's name, you can turn that navigation mode on, and then you can actually navigate by words or characters or lines. So if you needed to spell a name out, or, you had to deal with like an app that didn't let you use the normal like regular mode, which is basically just like, it does give you more. It's basically like Apple's little exploring navigation mode that we talked about a few minutes ago, but Amazon's version of it. Yep. And honestly, there's not too much else with Voice View. I mean, you can change the voice. As far as I know, you can. They haven't added any new voices, so you get the. Her name is Sally. It's the Ivona Sally voice. She's kind of a nice. She has a nice voice. You can change her speech rate and get her pretty fast or slow depending on your preferences. You can adjust the volume. So if you like your shows and stuff loud, but you don't like how loud Voice View is, you can turn it you can turn it down very significantly. And I mean, you can turn the sounds on and off because Voice View has its own little navigation sounds to tell you what's going on screen. But that's kind of it there. I mean, you do have, as far as the rest of the accessibility options, so you do have like magnification, and I do believe there is also a video descriptions option here as well. And of course, it being an Amazon product, it will turn on video description for things like Prime Video.
Yep.
But if you're using a service like Netflix or Hulu, the settings for video description most likely are in those apps separately. Annoyingly enough, too. I hate to that, but
and I'll have a link to both the Amazon Fire Stick and the Apple accessibility kind of overviews I'll make those available for you guys so you can go into some of the Voice View settings, especially for Amazon Fire Stick, because you can change a whole lot of stuff like the reading speed, the speech volume, sound volume, key echo, and this is kind of a funny one to me, punctuation level. Control what punctuation marks are read aloud, which is funny because if you were to ask it a question, hey Siri, can you find Saving Private Ryan on Netflix? And she would say question mark. Just, I don't know. That would be very funny to me.
Question mark, yeah.
So
that would be kind of funny.
Anyway, but anything else on the Amazon Fire Stick you want to hit?
No. So yeah, I will say setting it up is a little interesting because you do have to use on-screen keyboards to enter in your Amazon account credentials, your Wi-Fi password. It's accessible. It's very doable.
Right.
And when you first get your Fire Stick and plug it into your TV, and make sure your TV, is on the right input source, so, HDMI 1 or 2 or whatever, you're going to hear this little sound, and I believe you have to sync your remote to the TV.
Yeah.
And then you can use the back and menu buttons to turn on Voice View. It doesn't tell you that, though, sadly.
Yeah, there's a few things that are still left to be desired, but I mean, it's still accessible out of the box. But there's a couple of workarounds that you'll need to figure out, and just be a little bit patient with it and give yourself some grace, because like with all of this stuff, you may be learning for the first time, and that's totally okay. And you may get frustrated, and you may have to call somebody to have them come over and help you set things up, and that's totally okay. Just make sure you have somebody who can walk you through how to do it, so that when you're able to do it on your own, you can do it on your own. So, anything? Are there any other boxes or streaming things that you would recommend outside of those two?
Yeah, there are a couple more I'd like to make people aware of. So my grandparents recently, when we finally dumped cable or cut cable, they, if you are a Comcast user, they are going to try and really sell you on the Comcast Flex streaming box.
Yes.
Which it's the Flex box. And they're nice. I mean, they have, all of your basic streaming services, Netflix, Hulu and stuff. What's interesting about the Comcast box, though, is it will try to get you to sign up through for a streaming service through Comcast, and it's a bit of an interesting thing that it's a very Comcast-y thing to do.
It really is, and
I'm going to really get some controversy with it.
We had some definite major things with the Flex box, and it was really, really annoying, and so. But I mean, it worked for what it was. I mean, especially accessing Netflix. So when my kids, they used the Flexbox quite a bit for YouTube and Netflix. And so it was okay. It did what it did. And we didn't really need the accessibility features. But yeah, they will try to upsell you on everything, especially trying to get a subscription to their streaming services. And then also to better, faster internet. Because one thing I did see is that one time I had my phone and it said that my internet was super slow. And so I did the Comcast speed test on the Flexbox, and it said like I was getting like 50 or 60 megabits. And I looked on my phone and I was getting 480 something. And I was like, okay.
That's fishy.
And I was in the same room. So just, yeah, user beware. It does work for what it is. It does have good 4K streaming quality. I will give it that. And the remote is very accessible and friendly.
Very simple.
Very simple. Couple buttons. That's all it is. What else?
It does have a voice button. So yeah, so the remote does have a voice button, and it uses Comcast's voice remote kind of thing. It's like their own little proprietary. It's good though. It's cool because you can, ask it to open apps. You can have it, you can say a movie quote and it'll bring up the movie that you quoted, which is pretty cool. And you can have it turn on and off its accessibility features. And this is the annoying part, is I kind of had a bit of a problem getting the screen reader turned on because the Comcast cable remote versus the Comcast Flex remote are different.
Very different.
The cable remote has a lot more buttons.
Yes.
It has a number pad and it has A, B, C, D buttons. What's annoying though is that the Comcast Flex remote does not have those A, B, C, D buttons, and the B button is how you turn on voice view or voice guidance.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. And it's annoying because I turned on voice guidance and it's like, tip, to turn on or off voice guidance, press the B button twice to open this menu. I'm like, there's not even a B button.
Yeah.
And voice guidance as a screen reader as a whole is it's okay. It's a little sluggish. You can adjust the speech rate. You only get one voice. It's the Ava voice, which is on the iPhone as well. It's kind of a deeper female. And it's okay. I have a hard time recommending the Flex box. Yep. As far as the adjustments for accessibility, you can adjust the speech rate, but they only give you like regular, fast, faster, fastest. They don't really give you like granular adjustments. Sure. They do also have a video description option, and that will apply to like anything Comcast related, or it hasn't worked with Netflix. We tried.
Oh, bummer.
But it's there. There is the options there, and they also, I do believe, have some magnification options. They have Bluetooth, so the Flexbox does have Bluetooth, and you can connect it to a pair of Bluetooth headphones or AirPods. It will work. And there's not too much else to really talk about there.
I will find that I know this doesn't really affect those who are visually impaired. However, from a sighted person's perspective, if you have sighted people in your life, the navigation screen is really annoying to navigate for the Comcast Flexbox. It's very slow. It's clunky. It's not laid out very well. And so you have to scroll side to side for whichever app you want. So if you want Netflix and it's all the way down at the end because it's in alphabetical order and you have, 20 or 30 apps, you have to scroll and scroll and scroll. And so that's
all the way down.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But anyway,
it is.
What's the other box? You said there were two boxes that you wanted to mention, Flex, and then what else?
Oh yeah, the Flexbox. I actually really wanted to mention mention smart TVs, because a lot of modern TVs have capabilities that kind of render streaming boxes kind of redundant. And that's why we were like, because we at home have, a Samsung and an LG TV downstairs and in the living room. So they're both smart TVs, and we kind of didn't need the Flex boxes, and they gave us 3 of them. But the upstairs TV is not. But so smart TVs in general, they come with pretty much everything we talked about: accessibility features, the voice remote, all your streaming services, built-in Wi-Fi, sometimes Bluetooth, depending on the model of your TV. But they come with all of it built in, so you only really need one remote. And it's a little complicated, though, because some TVs, if you guys have heard of the Insignia brand, which is Best Buy's tech, electronics brand, they make a TV that actually is a Fire TV. So it's basically got a built-in Fire Stick, and the remote that comes with it is very similar to a Fire Stick remote.
Okay.
We didn't mention Roku, but some TVs come built in with Roku, and Roku is another streaming box. Why I didn't mention it? It's just it's a dime a dozen. They're good. I like them, but what I don't like about Roku is that not all of their streaming devices have the accessibility features. And goodness gracious, if you do get one with the screen reader feature, the voice that it has is just it's the worst I've heard. It sounds terrible. It sounds like and it
sounds like the voices we were doing at the beginning.
Yeah, it does. No, actually, our voices were better. I'm
sure they were,
but it's just accessibility of it is questionable. To anybody out there, if you're in the market for a new TV, I would recommend a smart TV. Now, I do want to talk about my recommendation though, because
let's do it.
We have downstairs a Samsung TV and we have an LG TV, and those are to my knowledge, the two biggest brands when it comes to TVs.
Yeah,
Sony's there too, but Samsung TVs are my favorite, and that is because they are not only accessible out of the box, but they tell you how to turn on the voice guidance screen reader during setup, and it's so cool. And so just a quick PSA to those who have a newer Samsung Smart TV and might not know about how to turn this on or off. On your remote, depending on the remote you have, you need to hold down the mute button. Now, if you have a non-voice remote, the mute button is there's two buttons between the volume and channel rockers, mute and guide, and the mute button's that upper button. Right. You hold that down, and you'll hear accessibility shortcuts, 10 items, or however, sometimes that list may vary. And the first option is voice guide. And then you can hit OK to turn it on, and then you can either, if you know where your back button is, you can hit that, or you can just right arrow to close, and there you go. Right. You got a screen reader, and it's nice. Like the voice is not bad. On my girlfriend's TV, she actually got the Samsung Bixby voice, which is a very human, pretty good voice.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can adjust its rate and volume. I don't know if it has a key echo setting on it, but it's a good screen reader, and most apps on the Samsung TV are accessible. I was able to definitely use like YouTube and Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. YouTube TV was it worked. It was a little flaky. And what I like about the Samsung TVs is that they give you a choice of assistants because their newer TVs have a voice remote, or you can actually buy a separate voice remote, separately, obviously, and connect it to your Samsung Smart TV if it's new enough. And what's cool is you can, on some of these, you can select whether you want to have the Alexa or Google Assistant, or I think they still offer Bixby as well. And Bixby's, I don't know. You play with it if you want, if you have a TV with a voice remote.
Oh, I think it would be important for us to do a show dedicated specifically to TVs. Because, like you said, there's a Samsung, Sony, LG, Hisense actually has LG has some good ones, but Hisense has some really good actual TV boxes that do have some accessibility features, but it's not as robust as LG or Samsung. But I think it would be fun to
it's good.
Do some of those comparisons and talk some more about that. As we wrap this up, what would you, if somebody was going to get into the streaming box game, what is your recommendation to go with straight up out of the box?
Straight up out of the box, if you're an Apple user, go with an Apple TV. You'll love it. And it will, it will meet you. And, if you live, if you have a family, it'll meet their needs. They'll love it. It's very easy to get set up and very easy to use. The remote is rechargeable. You don't have to deal with batteries.
Right.
It is a little easy to lose that little remote, but it's accessible. Like really, it is the most accessible streaming box. And I can confidently say that. If you don't want an Apple TV, if you're not looking into the Apple ecosystem, my next up recommendation would absolutely be either the Fire Stick or I just need to throw this in there. They do make a 4K version called the Fire Cube, and the Cube has a speaker in it, and that speaker is a smart speaker, so you get an Alexa speaker as well. Pretty intuitive, if you ask me. So that's my recommendations. Play with a Roku if you want. They're cheap, but
Rokus are really cheap, and if you want to try it out, it's fine. Actually, Rokus are really good for kid TVs. So if you have like a den or you have a loft or a basement and you want to throw a little 25-inch TV down there and let the kids go wild with a Roku and just put some kid-friendly stuff on there, it works really well for kid stuff. It's very easily accessible for kids. So you can keep that in mind. But my recommendation is I have a huge bias toward Apple. So
I do too,
I'm sorry about that. It's just because
I try to filter my
works.
bias.
It
does work, and they're out of the box.
Yeah, even doing this show, I mean, I tell you what, it more strengthens it dives me deeper into the Apple ecosystem. And when it comes out, I think June 5th, iOS 17 has some amazing new accessibility features that I cannot wait to cover. I'm so excited for these accessibility features. It's just going to be crazy.
The beta's going to be coming out.
Yeah. And so we'll as soon as we can get our hands on that or get a list of everything that is officially supported. I know there's still some leaks coming out, but I mean, some of the things that are going to be coming out are super impressive.
Nuts.
So,
cool.
Yeah. Any final words for you, my friend?
No, I definitely do say we should do an episode on TVs because we've talked in your ears for quite a bit now about streaming boxes alone, but we could do an entire episode on TVs, and maybe I could throw in a tech demo too for you guys too when it comes to those. So look out for an episode on smart TVs. And, of course, I'd love to thank everybody for listening and tuning into this week's episode of Blind Level Tech. I'm Evan Starnes with the Audio Information Network of Colorado. This is Jonathan Price, our lovely podcast producer. And we here at AINC are eternally grateful to have you as loyal listeners, of course.
Absolutely. And with that closing, Evan, thank you so much. And you're done with school. You've got a big summer plan. So get to it. Get cranking. Let's have some fun this summer. Make sure you get some bacon, lettuce, and tomato while you're at it. Peace out.
Yum.